some of the other things, James, that you feel makes this company different than any other company out there today?
Mostly it's the accountability and the fact that this company makes them hold themselves accountable. Many don't realize that discipline is the major difference between those who make it and those who don't. Discipline, ownership of a problem. Very few people are prepared to take responsibility for their own actions. Basically, you either do it with discipline, you do it with patience, and you do it within the rules, or you shouldn't be doing it. The accountability section that prosperity runs, holds, hosts, it's what first attracted me to you. The fact that you have submissions that people will submit. Well, this is what I did, and then we can review. And then we have the big question, well, why did you do that? If it fits, great. If it doesn't fit, why was that done? And that matters. I compare everything trading to driving. You're learning to trade, you're learning to drive, it's the same. There are rules. When you're learning to drive, if you cut the corner so that your back wheel mounts the curb, if you're on a lesson, the instructor is going to tell you, you can't do that. So you need to turn a little bit later. If you're trading, you need to enter a little bit later or a little bit earlier. It's there. There is a time, a perfect time to begin turning the wheel. There is a perfect time to enter the trade. And then the obvious question is, well, did you at the perfect time? But like we've said, so many people refuse to take ownership of a problem. Some people will drive intoxicated and then think that they can sue an alcohol company, well, because they sold me the beer. You chose to get behind the wheel. You need discipline.
So, what are the secrets? How do some of the most successful entrepreneurs find the freedom that we all got into business for in the first place? How did they find the time, energy, and resources to launch and scale strong? And how do entrepreneurs like us align our time, money, and energy in a way that will allow us to reach what we set out to achieve? These are the key questions, and this community will give you the answers. Welcome to the Prosperity Movement. So welcome to the Prosperity U podcast. We got the one and the only James Leone here today with us. It is exciting. Of course, Zach Shanky is here with us, Travis Hunter Hennigan, and we have a very, like I said, we got the special guest. We haven't had James on forever. We call him Yoda. He is the master, the myth, the legend. It is just an honor, and it's been an honor to be working with James going on 4 years now. Is that crazy to say? Is it going on 4 years right now, guys?
That flew past. It didn't feel that long.
Yeah. It just a little background because we've got about 500 people coming through a week in our ads into our the beginning of our community, if you will, coming in for a welcome home package, if you will. But basically, James has been trading now for over 2 decades. His story, high level. So James grew up in Liverpool in foster care, very humble beginnings. And after that, he moved into the Army, and he's got really cool stories on stealing helicopters and all kinds of things like that.
Wow.
And then after the Army, he became a CPA, a very well-respected and very successful CPA at what we would call standards of a CPA, I suppose. I think he would have been at a higher level than most. And James, basically his story and his claim to the power of what we are doing here today and what is being transferred over in legacy is that he stumbled across trading. He fluked on his first trade. He accidentally took a 5,000 pound principal to 15,000 pounds. And that was an overnight success. That was complete accident. That was something that he really wanted to be able to duplicate over and over again. Within the year, he bought out his boss's company and built a 3.5 million pound facility. There are articles on this, and the reason is that he didn't use any bank money. He used the money that he grew in his trading portfolio, and that must have been a really amazing investment because he met his beloved wife at that company, and he's been married ever since to that wonderful woman, and he's got a beautiful daughter from that marriage, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Stacy. And so absolutely wonderful. He's since sold that company, and now within the last few years we've been averaging about 28,000 pips a year in front of our live audience, and it started with just 3 to 5 calls a week, as he was also working with multiple other organizations. And out of 28,000 pips a year, an average of 15 to 20 pip loss a year, which is just absolutely insane. James also has a very special Swiss broker. Took him 6 years to be able to achieve that. You actually have to prove your net worth in order to get to this broker. From my understanding, too, James, you've uh, you've actually helped a couple of other people, or a handful of people, be able to graduate into that as well. Did you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's it's called a pro account, and you need to jump through hoops to get the pro account. And they generally are turning away people at the minute, particularly that broker. But I do have a couple of brokers, and I make recommendations to people based on do your due diligence, because the broker that I'm using might not work for them. And a pro account has its own pitfalls in that you don't have the same retail protections that you would with a general retail broker or a general retail account. So if you're gapped, you're really gapped. So you do have to be right in your trading. But I think over the 4 years now that it's been with you guys in our live sessions, witnessed by the people attending them, I've been able to pinpoint where we're going to get in and why. And then we've gone in there and made the pips that we said we were going to make. And on the occasion, for instance, Tuesday, where it didn't do as it was told, the market wasn't well behaved. Everybody on session was advised this is not in accordance with the moves that should be happening. We're going to wait. And I think we waited more than 30 minutes for the move that we were waiting for, but it did come. It did happen. We just had to wait for it.
Yeah, yeah. And I was on that session, so over and over again, it's almost like we got a crystal ball when we jump on the calls with you. And it's getting to the point where we have succession. So as I mentioned, like we have been averaging 28,000 pips right now, year to date. We're about a quarter of the way through the year, are we not? Or a little bit over a quarter of the way through the year?
Yeah, we're on our way to halfway. We need one more month and we're halfway. We're on
Okay,
about
so
14 and a half
one
thousand
more
pips now,
month
aren't
and we're
we?
halfway. We're over the normal number right now at this pace.
So
So we're
James,
probably gonna do. Go ahead.
yeah, so James, you're 14 and a half. That's just you. You got to keep in mind there's Matt and myself as well that do our calls, and so we're
Of
actually at
course.
about 16,000 so far for the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's really,
So
really
wait. So you guys only put 2,000 pips on the table.
Yeah, yes.
We're gonna have to have a wee conversation about that.
We got we're not at your level yet.
To be fair, it's they're very consistent in terms of the plays that are going out there too, and Matt is very, how would you say, in his sessions, he's very, I'm trying to think of the word, conservative,
Focused and disciplined.
very
Very.
focused, disciplined, and very conservative with what he's averaging out, because he's averaging out the numbers based on what he I mean, it's the same as you in terms of we're averaging out what people got. For you, it's an entry that you called and we have it recorded and we can go back and it's based on that entry at that level to this level. For him, the way that he's counting those pips, and he'd probably have more if he did exactly what you were doing, but he's averaging his pip count based on just what people are saying that they got.
Okay.
Right. So that's another level. And I know on your calls we do confirm that everybody is on the same page and we all agree with what's happening there, which is really powerful. Also, really important for people to understand that we consider James's calls right now a pro call. And what makes us different from any other organization out there today that I'm aware of is we break our education into three phases and focuses and graduation pieces. So one is basic, the other is intermediate, and then the other is pro. And so James's calls are pro calls. And so how do you identify which each one of those categories are? Well, basic training, you're coming in to learn basic, what we call DRS, which is divergence, rejection of a line, and signal. And then in intermediate, you're moving into higher time frame analysis and candle patterns with
Candle
math.
patterns.
And then once we get into with James, we've got all that plus Fibonacci and pivots and then some, and it goes even wider. But the point is that of course when you're on James's call, it happens very fast, and there's a lot of things happening. And typically on a really amazing day, there's plays that are happening almost every 10 minutes. It almost seems because you've got so many plays in your toolkit. With DRS, things are happening a little bit slower on Zach's calls. I think there are sometimes where you've waited up to an hour, but last night we've got a student that was just letting us know in the chat how many pips.
He got like 83. I think overall for the session, I put down 102 because there was two quality 50 pippers that were very, very easy to identify. So
Very cool, awesome. Yeah, so there's some really cool things happening there, and plus to be fair, James, while you're throwing punches at these guys, they've got sessions. They've got 2 sessions a week, and so you
and
gotta
not
you
at
gotta
the open. Yeah, we
Right.
have the weird times.
yeah
Okay.
evenings and then
All right. Well,
later.
when we launch SO17
Yeah.
at some stage in the future, that's signals only at 17. And we might be looking at 6 different markets. It would be gold, a currency pair, NASDAQ, Dow, and FTSE. But that will be signals only. And that's outside of the open. So it should just be 1 hour, maybe a little bit longer, of pure, well, it's a signal, so we can have it for these reasons. It's a good signal. It's not a good signal. It's a great signal. And we'll dive into why it meets those criteria.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So we started with James a few years ago, again at roughly 3 to 5 calls, live calls a week for people to be able to jump on. And now we are roughly at about 9 calls a week. I think there's one call that's every second week. And now we're adding on 2 more where James is actually jumping in and getting. Would you say that's more of a basic call, signals only, you're saying?
Um, well, I don't know how basic it is. It's pips. Doesn't really matter to me. I don't know about
Everything's
basic
basic.
or advanced.
Everything's basic.
It all
Everything's
blends now.
basic to you. Everything's basic to you. Yeah, no, that's great. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, what are some of the other things, James, that you feel makes this company different than any other company out there today?
Mostly it's the accountability and the fact that this company holds people accountable or makes them hold themselves accountable. Many don't realize that discipline is the major difference between those who make it and those who don't. Discipline, ownership of a problem. Very few people are prepared to take responsibility for their own actions. There's that song, isn't there? Look what you just made me do. Well, you did it. You reacted. The markets do what they do. How you react to that is your problem, and it's your issue. Basically, you either do it with discipline, you do it with patience, and you do it within the rules, or you shouldn't be doing it. You got no business being in there. The accountability section that prosperity runs, holds, hosts. It's what first attracted me to you. The fact that you do that, the fact that you have submissions that people will submit. Well, this is what I did, and then we can review. We can look on paper or on a screen at what time you got in, what direction you got in, and then we have the big question. Well, why did you do that? If it fits, great. If it doesn't fit, why was that done? And that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
not
even
just an
more power.
accountability factor there too. That's also really, really stinking helpful for when people are first starting out. So
Yeah.
they can find those areas, the holes in their approach, so we can patch that as we're building that bridge to where they're trying to get to, right? And then of course, after we do that, then the accountability factor is for that long term, right? If you want to do this effectively long term, you need to be accountable. And I think people in general, we people are not always good at holding ourselves accountable. So having that group setting and having, leadership positions as well to help lead people through that accountability is really important.
Yeah, there's very few. I compare everything trading to driving. You're learning to trade, you're learning to drive, it's the same. You're driving, you're trading, it's the same. There are rules. When you're learning to drive, if you cut the corner so that your back wheel mounts the curb, If you're on a lesson, the instructor is going to tell you, you can't do that. That could be somebody's toes. So you need to turn a little bit later. If you're trading, you need to enter a little bit later or a little bit earlier. It's there. There is a time, a perfect time to begin turning the wheel. There is a perfect time to enter the trade. And then the obvious question is, well, did you at the perfect time or not? Because if you didn't, you probably cut the corner and mounted the pavement. Maybe you burst a tire, maybe you broke somebody's toe, maybe you lost pips. But there is a right time to do everything. And your instructor won't let you mount the pavement more than once. He's going to say, well, I'm in the car. You can't do that. You certainly can't do it on your test. But like we've said, so many people refuse to take ownership of a problem. Some people will drive intoxicated and then think that they can sue an alcohol company, well, because they sold me the beer. But you chose to get behind the wheel, and that level of discipline is unacceptable. That's it. You need discipline.
So good. So powerful. Yeah, and like James said, like that is really what sets us apart is the submission process that we have. And I don't know how you guys feel. We got a few more minutes here, but like do we have time for a little bit of vision casting? Like James did talk about a couple of new developments and new additions to our calls. But right now, like Zach has been sharing with some of our new oncoming community that we've got almost $1 million in funded accounts so far
Yeah.
in the last year or so, where people have graduated into prop firms. Now, James genuinely is against the prop firm focus, and I think everybody has got their own little bit. Oh, go ahead there, James.
Only for me. It doesn't suit me because there are hoops you have to jump through, and I like the freedom of doing my own thing. But there are many who appreciate the fact if they've got a funded account, they pay small money to get the funded account, and then it does, like we do, it holds them also accountable because they have a maximum drawdown allowance and a minimum win rate that they must achieve. Similar things to what we recommend, but it's enforced there because you can't keep your prop firm account if you don't honor their rules. So it
No
meets the
different than you
criteria
can't,
for some.
and no different than you can't keep your money in
Exactly.
your
Yeah.
broker
Yeah.
account if you it is. I think what a lot of people are really drawn to, like you said, is that they can start with something as simple as a $50 what is it, Zach, a $50 evaluation
Yeah,
process.
evaluation fee, and then there's typically like once you pass, there's some kind of activation fee, but again, it's like $100 or something like that. So $150 to get $50,000 to trade with. Pretty decent trade-off. Now, of course, the big caveat there is, do you know how to trade? Right? Because if you don't, well, you pay 50 for the evaluation and you fail, and then you have to do it again, you know? And so it is definitely, I would recommend for sure starting with your own broker and learning and being good at trading before you go the prop firm route. Otherwise, you are gonna waste some money there. Go ahead, James.
Start with your own demo
Yeah.
broker because
Hmm.
then it's monopoly money, and
Yeah.
learn the steps in the process, achieve 70-30 win rate, achieve a 1.2 times hold percentage, then put some real money in it. It's one of the reasons I'm against the whole IB thing, introducing broker fees and an introducing broker arrangement. It's like I say, hey, join this broker and they'll do this for you and do that for you and just trade live. Well, you start trading, and because I introduced you, I get paid whether you win, lose, or draw. I don't like that. I like you to be able to win first before you risk real money. And that's one of the things I've had with other establishments in the past who have said, just go live and then we'll know if your psychology effect is affected. And I've always said, no, don't. Wait until I know that you understand the strategy. Then go live. And then if it changes, we'll know it's psychology and we can work on that.
Mm.
Yeah, that's so good. And yeah, man, like it's exciting because ultimately we're getting more and more students that we're sitting down with. One of my favorite things is when we get to sit down with a student and we're setting up new structures for them so that they're moving outside of having to pay capital gains, and they're reducing their taxes by setting up a new structure. And it's happening more and more often because we're seeing more and more students right now graduate into these prop firms. So they're investing into their education here. They're graduating through our program, and then they're flying colors. I'm in a process of actually right now, Travis. It was Chris Steffen that you interviewed the other day, and I've got numbers here where he's like sitting at like he had a $900 trade session the other day or something like that, and he believes that he's going to be at $1,000 a day in 15 minutes from these copy accounts of what he's graduating through. He's graduated, I think, 4 accounts, was it? He's going on a fifth.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like each one of those accounts, he has graduated 95% win ratio on 3 of those accounts, and on the last one, 100% win ratio. Okay, that's amazing. That is absolutely incredible. So like that should feed you comfort. I think a lot of people that know how to trade are dealing with a lot of different emotions, anxieties, fears, and the point of coming over here to trade is to create more freedom and peace of mind, but even deeper peace of mind in front of the charts, because there's a lot of people whose, for lack of a better term, buttholes are puckering while they're trying to make decisions, and it doesn't have to be that way. And that's what you get to gain assurance over here with. I mean, we want to dive deeper. We've got so much more for you in the coming weeks. We've got to jump on to other things right now, but is there anything else that you guys want to cover before we tie up? Go ahead there, James.
It's a very mechanical process. It really is. It's not AI, but the structure of a strategy is that it's very mechanical. There is a right time to go in. There is a right time to get out. And the structure of the strategy will show that it's mechanical. That's all. You just need to apply that.
Awesome. I love it. And hey, for all the listeners right now, if you would like a welcome package to be able to do your due diligence, to be able to see the ROI potential, to be able to see from some of our most successful students and some of the great stories that we even shared a little bit here today, then you can just go to prosperitymovement.online and go to the bottom little chat bubble at the bottom right hand of the page, put in your information and just say, welcome home or hello or whatever you want, really, and we'll get you going. We'll send that package. Just say, I would like the welcome home package, and we'll get you all set up. We want to wish you all the best in health, wealth, and relationships. God bless you, and chat soon. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye for now.